Yes, on a side note, I do think the establishment manages the masses, so to speak, by manipulating their emotions, pandering to their low self esteem or their artificial hypnotic egos that business has done a pretty good job of inducing into people. And this is just a tricky way of managing people and suppressing the truth because people don't want to hear the truth, they get angry. So if you pander to people's emotions and trigger their self-esteem and their sense of humor or their egos, they're much more receptive to that than they are to hearing the truth. So it's this the establishment uses emotions to manipulate and manage the crowd. I did work for one time I worked for a small stock brokerage firm. After going through their hiring process, I went up to LA and I trained up there for a week or so, 2 weeks I think it was. I came back down to San Diego and I've never seen such a collection of goof-offs in an office in my life. This was several years ago, maybe 18 years ago. It's quite a long time ago. And then later on, I attempted to, this is several years later, right around the dot-com boom, I went to work for a small firm and I did cold calling to find customers and accounts, and I did was able to get an airline pilot who owned a ranch in Denver, Colorado, outside of Denver, Colorado, that was interested in the stock that we were selling. It was a dot-com stock, and I got a little bit of cold feet about the stock. I thought it was, I just had cold feet about it, so I called the firm, the dot-com company up to find out more about the stock. And sure enough, I just got an answering machine. And so I got really cold feet. I couldn't get any real information about this company that this firm, this stock brokerage firm, wanted me to sell stock from to this customer I found in this airline pilot in Denver, Colorado. And I couldn't get information. I couldn't get answers, so I quit for ethical reasons. Later, I tried to get a stock brokerage stockbroker's job at a large firm, a reputable firm, so to speak. I passed their application process. I had to take this generic application test, which I passed. In fact, I did better on it than most of the college grads. I was told that by this one guy. But anyways, I then had an interview, and I told him about what I did at this other firm. I decided to quit because of ethical reasons, and he didn't really appreciate that story. And I was never called back for a subsequent interview. And I was the whole time, not here at this interview, I was telling people, I was telling my dad even, there is a dot-com bubble going on. These dot-com stocks are grossly overvalued. Most of them have no revenue source, kind of like Facebook and YouTube today. But there were all kinds of these dot-com stocks back during that bubble. And I had a bad sense about it. I was right. Turns out in the long run, I was right about it. But I could never get access to participating either on the business side or as a private citizen in the stock brokerage in the stock business back then. Even though several years before that, 1984, I was trying to buy, and I had $18,000 to buy stock in Microsoft back when it was in its infancy. And I was given bad advice from a multimillionaire, an old man, a lot like Warren Buffett, against the stock. So that goes to show you what some of these so-called wise old men who've been investing long-term in stocks all their life really know. Instead I remember at the time I had a Charles Schwab account. I bought some IBM stock, or some put options rather, and I actually made a few bucks off that, not very much. And I bought some stock in Oak Industries. They were a cable box company back then, and they eventually went out of business. I sold it before and didn't make any money off of that. But the Microsoft stock would have made me, if I would have held on to that stock for years, it would have made me a multi-millionaire. But subsequent to that, eventually I became estranged years later. I'm talking about after when I was originally looking into the stock brokerage business, working for my brother. I got into working on the operational side of his business, well, I always was on the operational side, but I had more and more responsibility. Eventually became the vice president because he had to make me that because I was basically his right-hand man, and he came to me and consulted me about everything with regard to that business. And that's going to be a big part of my videos. I'm going to talk about that time. But yeah, I was right about the dot-com bubble. I predicted it, and got persecuted for it. Never rewarded, and never any kind of restitution. Continues.